Dr. Anshu, is the event live? There are questions on, people are asking when they're clicking on the link, they're just seeing the CSIR, CSIR MTech in the service of nation.
Hello, Shekhar. Just 1 second, Dr. Sharma, just give me 1 minute.
Hello.
Shekhar, can we start?
Just give me a moment because I think Facebook had some issue. We are live on YouTube, so just give me a moment.
Okay. So Shekhar, we are starting.
Yes, sir. So you can start.
So greetings to one and all present here from CSR IMTech. So, today is an auspicious day and we are celebrating this Happy Gurpurab. So our best wishes to all our speakers and participants who have joined us, right? So, as we are celebrating, celebrating this ceremony for curtain raiser for this India International Science Festival. So this is our second curtain raiser event, and I welcome you all to CSR IMTech. Today we have with us Dr. Sanjeev Khosla from CSR IMTech, who is director. Then we have Dr. Abhay Sharma, who is our technical focal point for AMR and WHO representative to India. Then we have with us Dr. Tasleem Saeed, he is CEO and Director, Center for Cellular Molecular Platform, CCAM Bangalore. And on behalf of CSR IMTech, it's my pleasure to welcome you all. So to begin with, I would request our director, Dr. Sanjeev Khosla, to officially welcome you all and say a few words. Dr. Khosla, please.
Yeah, welcome to everyone, and thank you to Dr. Sharma and Dr. Tasleem for coming and giving us your views. It will be very interesting to actually hear your views, and without further delay, let me start the session. Neeraj, can you take it forward from here? I think the Neeraj is gone somewhere.
Yes, thank you very much, sir, for your kind words. So now we shall start our sessions, and I would request Anshu to please introduce Dr. Ajay Sharma, Dr. Anush Sharma. Anshu, please.
Yeah, thanks, Neeraj. I hope I'm audible to all of you. So a very warm welcome to Dr. Anuj Sharma, who is from the WHO Country Office for India. And on behalf of CSR IMTech, we thank you for accepting our invitation. A very quick introduction to Dr. Sharma. He actually is an alumni of the Maulana Azad Medical College as well as the Lady Hardinge Medical College. He's a medical microbiologist. He has worked in several WHO country offices, regional offices, and also in WHO headquarters. He is the driver for Network for Surveillance of AMR in India very long back. We are talking about it today, but he took these initiatives right at the time when it was needed. He is currently working with several states on implementation of the National Action Plan for Antimicrobial Resistance and has several awards to his credit. With this very small introduction, I would extend again a very warm welcome to Dr. Sharma, and we look forward to hearing from you and learning from you on your vision and your path forward. What is the recommendation? What should we do to be self-reliant if we have to together address the issues of antimicrobial resistance and other emerging infections?
Thank you, Dr. Anshu, for the kind words. And I will talk about antimicrobial resistance and in the perspective of the Atmanirbhar Bharat and how AMR containment is important from the global perspective as well. But again, I will limit my talk to the strategic priorities of the National Action Plan on AMR. And again, a disclaimer up front, I will be trying to list all the government initiatives, including some in partnership with WHO. And I may not have all the updated information. So in case I miss any of the initiatives, my apologies in advance. Now, if you look at the COVID-19 pandemic, this has actually shown that a lot of antimicrobials have been overused and misused, despite the trials showing no evidence on patient benefit or the outcomes. This includes hydroxychloroquine, azithromycin, doxycycline, remdesivir, ivermectin, etc. Also, if you look at the prevention of secondary bacterial or fungal infections, the systematic review on this topic has shown that although 72% of the patients received empirical treatment to prevent secondary bacterial or fungal infections, only 8% of the patients had a demonstrable secondary bacterial or a fungal infection. So again, a huge mismatch of the antimicrobial use even for preventing secondary infections. One of the other things which the pandemic did was a lot of resources were directed away from AMR surveillance and microbiology labs, since these were the labs, a lot of these also doubled up as the COVID labs and quickly ramped up their services to put in place or increase the turnover of the PCR tests. Also, many hospitals became either dedicated COVID hospitals or healthcare centers. As a result, a lot of patients also faced problems, including patients with sepsis, because other health problems did not disappear overnight. They were all there. And I will actually focus on some of the collateral benefits of the pandemic as well in the subsequent slides on AMR. Now, the WHO Director General, a former WHO Director General, mentioned antimicrobial resistance is a slow-moving tsunami. It can have catastrophic effects on the health of the globe, and a lot of people are already saying it is the next pandemic. And if you look at the review on antimicrobial resistance by Jim O'Neill, it's estimated that 10 million deaths per year will happen in 2050 if we do not take action right now. And to put this in perspective, the 10 million deaths per year, you compare that with the current, up till 30th of November this year, we've had globally 1.46 million deaths due to the COVID pandemic. So imagine roughly 6 times more deaths per year due to AMR in 2050 if we are not careful. And this will translate into 1 death every 3 seconds. And at a huge cost, $100 trillion or 7.4 Padma in Indian rupees, which is 7.4 quadrillion rupees, or 10,000 crores. Again, a lot of these deaths will happen in Asia and Africa. Now, India has put in place a number of initiatives for this. And the earliest initiative was the National Policy for Containment of Antimicrobial Resistance in 2011. And after that, a number of other initiatives by NCDC and ICMR in putting in place their national programs on AMR containment, but more about that later. In 2016, the Ministry of Health came out with the framework for developing the National Action Plan on AMR, and coupled with a background paper on AMR and its containment in India, all the Indian stakeholders came together and developed the National Action Plan on Antimicrobial Resistance. And this, along with the Delhi Declaration on Antimicrobial Resistance and interministerial consensus, was endorsed at the high-level meeting on AMR in New Delhi in April 2017. AMR is also a priority under the WHO India Country Cooperation Strategy for 2019 to 2023. Now, the India's National Action Plan on AMR has 6 strategic priorities with 16 focus areas, and I will use the NAP AMR in taking you through some of the initiatives which are happening under each of these strategic priorities, and what are the opportunities to scale them up using the current scenario. If you look at the first priority, awareness and advocacy, the Prime Minister Modi highlighted this in his first, one of his first initial Mann Ki Baats in 2016, and subsequently a number of other initiatives have happened to raise awareness and advocacy on AMR, awareness, understanding and advocacy. NCDC has developed a number of resources on raising awareness. Early this year in January, all the partners came together to organize a summit on antimicrobial resistance, One World, One Health, One Fight. The Kerala Veterinarian Summit, jointly organized by REACT and the Indian Veterinary Association Kerala chapter, came out with the Kochi Declaration on One Health action for a containment of AMR. A number of other partnerships with the Indian Medical Association, Healthcare Foundation of India for the Perfect Health Mela and the AMR Conclave organized by them, and partnerships with the Medical Students Association of India, Indian Veterinary Students Association of India, the local chapters, and the National Service Scheme of IIT Roorkee. These are some of the collaborating institutions which have undertaken AMR awareness this year. Also, the 3 AMR surveillance networks, Mahasar, Kaznet, and Vinsar-D in Maharashtra, Kerala, and Delhi have also done a number of activities in the institutions and the other allied collaborating partners. NCMR has also organized another initiative. Also, Delhi government, NCDC, DSPRUD, and WHO came together last year to organize the antimicrobial awareness campaign in school children. Last year was a physical campaign. This year, it's an online campaign for school children in Delhi NCR. And of course, we have CSIR IMTech, which is launching the Armor, the online game. A lot of resources for AMR are available on the WHO India website. The link is there on the screen. Also, if you look at the second strategic priority, strengthening laboratories and surveillance of AMR, NCDC has a network of close to 30 laboratories across India under a national AMR surveillance network. They have their own laboratory assessment tool, standard operating procedures, and they use WhoNet to share data on a 3-monthly basis. ICMR's initiative has an AMR a research and surveillance network, And they also have their own lab assessment tool, SOPs, and they have an online portal for sharing data in practically real time. Also, the NCDC was designated as the National Coordinating Center for AMR Surveillance in 2017 for submitting data to the Global AMR Surveillance System coordinated by WHO. WHO India, in partnership with the state governments and IMM and NCDC, has established 3 state surveillance networks on AMR, having SOPs aligned to the NCDC's AMR surveillance network. The WHO lab assessment tool for a national reference labs has been adapted for self-assessment, for strengthening these networks. And these institutions use HUNET and share data on a monthly basis with the coordinating institution. And these are 3 networks in Maharashtra called Mahasar, Kerala it's Carsnet, and in Delhi it is Binsardi. Also, there's a network in fishery and animals coordinated by ICAR and FAO called INFAR. There's another national level network, VINSAR, in partnership with IMM and WHO, which looks at primarily the private sector laboratories across India to support and further strengthen the data in NCDC's AMR surveillance network. Also, One Health AMR surveillance project on ESBL E. coli in all the other sectors, food, animals, environment, and humans. Tricycle FEX project was planned. Unfortunately, the pandemic has put this on the back burner for now. But again, the pandemic has also given us opportunities to strengthen health laboratories for diagnosis of infectious diseases, including cultures and antimicrobial susceptibility testing. Infection prevention and control is another strategic priority 3. ICMR, in collaboration with AIIMS, has a surveillance network for healthcare-associated infections, collecting data from ICUs for a number of HAIs, including bloodstream infections and urinary tract infections. Also, the Ministry of Health has a national patient safety implementation framework. The Ministry of Health also has national guidelines for infection prevention and control in healthcare facilities developed by NCDC with WHO support. Also, India's Make in India program has a lot of synergies with the reuse prevention syringes, also innovative medical devices to reduce healthcare associated infections, especially hubless connectors for intravenous devices. Also, the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan started by the Ministry of Drinking Water and Sanitation, now called the Jal Shakti Ministry, and the Kayakal program also have strong synergies with infection prevention and control. But the pandemic has really helped in strengthening hand hygiene. Hand hygiene, along with physical distancing, 2 gaz ki duri, and banning of spitting in public places under the Disaster Management Act, these have been strongly strengthened and have a lot of implications for putting in place robust infection prevention and control in healthcare facilities and in the community. Also, the pandemic gave India an opportunity to strengthen the PPE and become self-reliant in masks, gowns, and gloves. If you look at strategic priority 4, optimizing use of antimicrobials, ICMR has networks on antimicrobial use and consumption. They also have an antimicrobial stewardship program with guidelines in place, also treatment guidelines for antimicrobial use in common syndromes, and they also have a national essential diagnostics list, which outlines the minimum laboratory or diagnostic tests available at the various levels, and cultures are an essential test at the district hospital level. So ideally, we should have in times to come AMR data from the district level. NCDC has an antimicrobial consumption network called NACNet, And they also have national treatment guidelines for antimicrobial use in infectious diseases. WHO IMS also came out with surveillance of antimicrobial use in India and Indian states. This was in 2018. Plus a number of other institutes, PGIMER, CMC Vellore, AIMS, have their own models for antimicrobial stewardship. What is needed is national and state level consumption of antimicrobial use, especially not just in human health, but also including non-human antimicrobial use in fisheries, animal husbandry, dairying, and in crops. Also, India is the pharmacy of the world. It manufactures a huge number of not just antimicrobials, but also vaccines and diagnostics. And this is another opportunity for India to really use this opportunity to strengthen its manufacturing base. If you look at research and innovations, and my apologies because this is one of the areas where I may not have updated information. I'm aware of the ICMR's AMR Hub, the partnership with GARDP and the One Health Center in Nagpur. Also the DBT BIRAX Mission AMR, in which they're looking at 4 key pillars, developing indigenous cost-effective treatments and rapid cost-effective diagnostic kits, as well as establishing an AMR repository at NCMR. NCMR is the AMR repository for the 3 state-level surveillance networks supported by WHO, and DBT WHO are developing the Indian priority pathogen list. This is nearly finalized, and the pandemic put this on the back burner, but we will be coming out with this soon. Also CCAMP AMR Quest, and I'll request Dr. Syed to talk about this more, as well as the CSIR IMTech initiatives for research and innovations on AMR. There are a large number of collaborations at the international level, at the G20, at the BRICS level, ASEAN, and of course, the World Health Assembly. There's an Indo-Sweden project on AMR. The UK government has partnerships with DBT, ICMR, ICAR, and the Ministry of Environment, along with the Research Council of UK. Fleming Fund has not just the global support, the regional, as well as the national, the country support, and we're looking forward to that coming to India. Also, a UK research fund for international collaboration is also there. US is another partner through NIH, CDC, and USAID. Netherlands and India has a One Health project on AMR in Krishna district in Andhra Pradesh. The Research Council of Norway and ICMR also have a collaborative initiative on research on AMR in India and Norway. Australia and Japan also have other initiatives. And Center for Science and Environment also is focused on strengthening the One Health national action plans on AMRs in Asia and Africa, especially supporting Zambia and Zimbabwe. Also at the national level, there are a lot of One Health collaborations on AMR, as well as the disease control programs which need to come together for AMR, especially the TB, HIV, malaria, and leprosy. Also the state action plans for containment of antimicrobial resistance. 3 state action plans are already there. The first one was in Kerala called CARSAP. The second one was Madhya Pradesh called MP SAPCAR. And third one in Delhi was called SAPCARD. On the basis of the Kerala experience, we also helped develop the guidance for developing state action plans for containment of antimicrobial resistance. Also, we organized a regional workshop to develop SAPCAR in Kochi, and there are at least 10 or 12 other states who have their state action plans in the pipeline. In summary, I would just like to say AMR is everybody's business, because antimicrobials are a valuable resource and we need to use it carefully. AMR is a global, national, and a state priority, as well as a priority for WHO and its partners. engagement and ownership of the One Health stakeholders is essential. Government ownership and oversight is critical, and we need scientific evidence to leverage the self-reliant India for global welfare. And I congratulate CSIR MTech for developing Armor and also for organizing this event. So all the best to Armor, and I would also like to thank all our partners at the national level, at the state level, at the institutional level, as well as the civil society, professional associations, and individual institutions. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dr. Sharma, for taking us through all the antimicrobial resistance initiatives that the government is taking. And we personally also think that it actually aligns with the self-reliant and the global welfare component, the theme of IISF 2020 this year, because it's with the ongoing pandemic, there is one thing that it has taught everyone in the world, that we were not prepared for it. And if this will not teach us anything, then we'll not learn now. When shall we learn on managing such situations in future? So thanks for updating us on the wide spectrum of initiatives and the objectives of what needs to be done on National Action Plan. Would you have any recommendations for the young researchers and the young students out there in terms of what they should be doing, on what they should be looking at in terms of AMR? What are the research gaps, the innovation gaps that they might address as they move forward and take a decision on what career paths they choose downstream?
Yes, in fact, you've actually highlighted a very important point. The students of today are the future leaders and the citizens of tomorrow. So they are going to play an extremely important role in times to come. And this is one of the reasons why we have focused on supporting raising antimicrobial awareness in school children, hatching them young, but also amongst the technical stakeholders. We partnered with Medical Students Association of India and the International Veterinary Students Association and the NSS of IIT Roorkee to spread awareness amongst the technical sort of stakeholders. Also, there was another event organized by AMI and Bhavatal along with NCMR, where they looked at researchers, stimulating them for AMR containment, raising awareness amongst them. And my only suggestion to the researchers would be to look at the leaders, look at CSIR MTech, look at ICMR, look at ICAR, look at DBT BIRAC, their initiatives, CCAMP, what they are doing, and try and align to look at developing newer antimicrobials, but also looking at vaccines, looking at better diagnostics, looking at alternatives to antimicrobials. So these are some of the areas which I would encourage our researchers to focus on. Also, one other area I would encourage our researchers to focus on is if we can actually develop Indian standards for antimicrobial susceptibility testing. A lot of our laboratories use CLSI standards, which have to be purchased every year. And not only that, a number of times the CLSI standards might not accurately reflect the AMR situation in the Indian strains. A case in point, resistance in Salmonella typhi, which CLSI took a number of years to correct based on inputs from the Indian researchers. So I think this is time that we take this on and develop Indian standards for antimicrobial susceptibility testing, which can be provided free to all the diagnostic laboratories so that they need not be dependent on CLSI standards anymore.
So I think that's a very apt and strong recommendation, and we'll see what we can do together in that front. So thank you so much, Dr. Sharma, for sharing an insightful lecture and it's very comprehensive. Thank you so much. I'm sure the audience will benefit from it a lot. I personally did. With that, I would like to hand over the proceedings to Dr. Neeraj.
Thank you, Anshu. So, it's my pleasant duty to introduce our next speaker, Dr. Saeed. So, I feel even though he doesn't require any introduction, but for the sake of participants, let me briefly give you about brief introduction about Dr. Saeed. He has been trained as a neuroscientist, and he did his PhD from Max Planck, Germany. After that, he has done his PDF from University of California, and after that, he has done management for biotech and innovation from Berkeley, San Francisco, and Wharton School of Management. Dr. Saeed is an adjunct faculty at Indian Institute of Technology, Madras, and Amrita Institute, School of Biotechnology. And he is heading the Discovery and Innovation Accelerator program at CCAM Bangalore. And he is very actively involved in promoting innovation in life science, healthcare by supporting translation of discoveries and technology development. So as we discussed that, the theme of this year's Science Festival is Science for Self-Reliant India and Global Welfare. And Dr. Saeed, you are the best person for promoting science among the masses and young minds, which is the main objective of IISF. So with these words, we look forward to hear from you, Dr. Saeed. Please.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Let me just quickly try to project my slides where I can, yeah. Can you see my slides?
Yeah.
Yeah. So first of all, thank you so much, and it's a pleasure to participate in this particular event for IISF, a fantastic initiative, and more so from IMTAC, where I had a pleasure to visit a couple of years back. Thanks, Professor Khosla, as well as Dr. Anshu, for inviting me, and also for the kind introduction, Dr. Neeraj. Today, while I think we talk about, I would like to take around 15 odd minutes to possibly, reaffirm the need for self-reliance, and more so self-reliance in form of healthcare solutions or healthcare innovations. Because in COVID times, as you know, we all realized that, around March, we all realized that the people who have been a part of healthcare fraternity or even a science fraternity, we realized that around March, we found ourselves to be somewhere unequipped in terms of healthcare resources to respond to such challenging time. And because largely and traditionally we have always relied on international innovations who come and serve our needs. But I think this time was even difficult to get those because of availability of those, because globally the requirement was there for those resources, and also accessibility because of logistics, flights, and so on. So I think one of the biggest things from learning from the pandemic that we are going through, and I hope it gets over as soon as possible, is that I think we need to be prepared, and self-reliance is nothing but to be prepared. I think it's a preparedness in terms of being able to respond, and self-reliance is a core pillar of being prepared to respond to something like that. And healthcare is the biggest criteria that I think we look at in terms of society to ensure that the well-being of the society. Today, what I want to talk about is to extend that into a next level, that is AMR as a broad. So CCAMP is based out of Bangalore. It's a member of a Bangalore Life Science Cluster, which is one of the biggest biological science campus in India. Along with NCBS and INSTEM, we form a community of around 1,800 to 2,000 people, and where we attempt to build understanding of science as well as translation of science to the next level and the commercialization of that understanding, finally impacting the society around us. I think you saw a similar slide from Dr. Sharma, who gave a fantastic view in terms of different efforts which are going on. But I think AMR, as his slide quite rightly said, a slow-moving tsunami around us. AMR, antimicrobial resistance, demands as much as reiterations if one needs to ensure that we actually get better. And as you can see, that India is one of the most vulnerable countries against AMR in terms of the way things are wrapping up. I think the color, as you go towards blue, what it indicates is a mortality rates per 1,000 people, 10,000 people. And the Asia is largely surrounded, and India definitely is much more. Easy to say that many deaths that happen in because of infection in hospitals are not even termed as AMR deaths. So you can imagine this blue is how blue in the real scenario. It gets even more difficult that World Economic Forum last week clearly said that the looming health catastrophe that could be more deadly than COVID-19 is AMR. And I think you heard an economic impact of that in Dr. Sharma's presentation. And this is really something that we need to be prepared. And the reason that it goes on to say, and as you heard, this is the graph which actually shows how many antibiotics were actually discovered during different decades. As you can see, the best era of the antibiotic discovery was around 1940s, 50s, possibly even a bit decades after that. But what did it do? This antibiotics actually helped us save lives which we were losing because of simple infections that we couldn't cure. These antibiotics allowed us to do. And what is happening here now in the rightmost part of this? There are no new classes of antibiotics which are discovered. On top of it, very importantly, as you saw, the bacteria or the pathogens around us have actually evolved, and they do not possibly, many strains and many versions of those who cannot be treated with these antibiotics which were discovered here. So these antibiotics are actually not useful in many cases now. And this has happened because of many reasons, and you use the overuse and so on. And I think today the launch of the game from CSIR, the Armor, is a very good example of teaching kids in terms of why AMR happens, and if kids, not only they themselves understand, but tell the other people around in the family that not to use antibiotics too much, or possibly use it up to the at least till the dosage is over. All those details are very important to actually minimize. There are many other reasons as well, more than the human consumption. There is agricultural, animal husbandry, the leakages from the pharmaceutical industry. There's also, we have to do a holistic aspect to prevent that. But just go on to say that we do not have new antibiotics which can serve those things. And this is a very important projection. What you can see is today. Today, if we are losing 700,000 people per year. If you know COVID-19 numbers are 200 or 300 or 1,000 people, and still it has really caused a havoc in the society. AMR, as of today, we have 700,000 people will lose because of this. 2050, the projection is that we will lose 10 million people. COVID-19 numbers are 2 lakhs, 3 lakhs. This is 10 million people, 50 times more or less, in terms of per year that we can lose. And this would continue to happen every year. This is not a 1 year infection and an issue. It's going to happen. So as a society, not only as India, but in general, what we need to do, according to me, we need to work on this number. The 10 million, we need to bring down that number. We need to bring down this number as much as possible, and this would require, this is not going to be an easy job, and this would require significant amount of work from all quarters to ensure that this happens. One way, as we know that how the AMR spreads, people know about it, it is not only because of medicines, there are many reasons to that, but everything has to be possibly done in a right manner to control the spread of AMR which is around us. So we need to tackle AMR in terms of healthcare from a perspective of innovations. If we were to tackle, is to reduce it. Can we reduce the spread of AMR around us? How do we actually control it so it doesn't grow further? As rightly mentioned by Dr. Sharma. How do we do the diagnostics so that we can have early diagnostics and early data in terms of the spread of AMR or the occurrence of AMR, or to ensure that the right antibiotics are prescribed? And of course, new drugs and vaccines, which would be hopefully important going forward. What are the new ways of therapeutics that one could look at which can actually use that? So at CCAM, we are attempting to do foster innovations at the prevention level, at the diagnostics level, and new drugs. So we have a few startups in the prevention, a few in the diagnostics, and a few in the new drugs aspect of it. We are doing a lot of work in AMR for many 4 to 5 years. We have collaborations with University of Edinburgh, where we have done the AMR Diagnostic Challenge, which was an India-wide effort. At the same time, we have been working with Erasmus MC for workshops and other aspects. But the major thing, our consolidation of effort that happened in AMR was CCAM selection in World's Top 10 AMR Accelerator to be funded by CARB-X program, which is world's biggest AMR funding body, supported by US government, BARDA, Gates Foundation, and other governments and foundations. What it allowed us, as you can see, CCAM is the only one outside the North America and Western Europe. It allowed us to now engage with the best of the innovations happening at the cutting edge in terms of diagnostics, prevention, and therapeutic, and ensure that the innovations that happen from India also get in the same league in terms of developing and taking that innovation to the next level. So this particular effort has been phenomenally successful to take our work forward. One of the earliest thing that has come is that, so CARB-X program, as I mentioned, which is India's world's biggest AMR funding body, has now funded 3 companies from Asia. Only 3 companies have been successful till now, and all 3 of them are from CCAM. So that goes on to suggest that we have been able to take exciting science forward, go towards validation and proof of concept, and then get supported by global funding bodies which have possibly people from the top-notch scientists from the corporates as well as the FDA as a part of it, and get that science reviewed and taken that forward. So we are very, very proud that all 3 companies in Asia are now have been through CCAM. So this is building innovation, and building healthcare innovation is a very important form of self-reliance or Atmanirbhar aspect, because this is something that is very important in general for us to be able to have the capacity to do phenomenal science, build amazing innovations, so that the society around us, who would be the primary beneficiary, will actually get what we want, the solutions for the unmet needs. Dr. Sharma was very kind to involve a couple of programs that CCAM has run this year itself. That is, we have a AMR quest that we did, which was across India. We got very, very high number of AMR innovations on that, and the selected ones have now been through CCAM AMR Accelerator program, which allows you to take AMR ideas to the next level. And we have really, really very exciting new concepts of AMR for diagnostics, for AMR diagnostics, for new way of therapeutic, skin-based approaches for therapeutics, and completely new aspects of how do you want to look at AMR prevention, were all taken forward through that. So this is a very, I think, a conservative list. We have much bigger list, but just wanted to give you a perspective. I've taken around 10 minutes already, or a bit more. I just wanted to give you that we already have a cohorts in prevention, diagnostics, and new drugs. Bugworks is one, and we have now what you call it as a few more, like the Gandigen of the world, who are doing very, very good work. So Biomonita, if I may just, I may have slides separately. Okay, so let me start with Koyo Labs VapCare, which is an amazing innovation in terms of the smart idea taken forward, where they all realized that in ICU settings, which happens in COVID-19 as well, when patient goes on ventilator, many a times those patients actually acquire secondary infection because of their exposure of saliva or mucus, which actually goes on to trickle to their lungs, causing pneumonia. So it's called ventilator-associated pneumonia, which stats suggest that 50% of old age people do not survive if they actually acquire pneumonia, and that's huge number. 50% is every second elderly person who acquires, we lose them. And they built a device which is a phenomenal device which ensures that there is an automated clearance of saliva or mucus that happens. It actually aspirated out, bleach it right there. It goes on, the device goes on to the ventilator and prevents the occurrence of pneumonia. They did a study on 30 patients in India, and none of them got the pneumonia as a condition, and that is wonderful. It is a US FDA approved product, and now right now India is serving COVID patients. As we know, apparently we are losing 80% or 90% of people who go on ventilator in COVID. That's what I had gotten as a number. And I think this is really, and we have to use such devices for preventing their deaths if they are caused by pneumonia and so on. So this is very important device which is causing, preventing that. Biomonitor, again, it works on the prevention aspect, which uses textile chemistry and aerodynamics to build a small portable device which has ability to go in a closed environment and bring down the microbial load in that environment by 99.9999%. And they have phenomenal data now, which can go on work on in ICUs or in normal rooms. So if there are pathogens which are airborne pathogens or even normal pathogens which are there around for a while, if they are around, how do you bring them down? And they are actually been in process of productizing and taking markets. It's a decontamination device which can go in ICUs or even going forward in planes and so on, so that your pathogens around you are taken care of. Prashant from Vellore works on targeting the biofilm associate occurrence which happens on medical device infections, and very exciting work they are doing to prevent those infections. Neonate, the spot sense, I'll take a couple of more minutes. Spot sense is a beautiful concept which has been built to use saliva as a biomarker rather than what you would call it as a hill prick for very young babies or neonates, if I may say so that they can actually understand the inflammation levels in case of infections, and their work is right now being validated in hospital settings, and if that works well, we can actually do more or less online monitoring because it's saliva based for inflammation markers using saliva rather than so it's going to be very important for infection treatment as a companion diagnostics and so on. So a very exciting work they have done. Module has built a credit card size device to do pathogen ID for UTI in 30 to 45 minutes. Again, very exciting work, and they are planning to bring the product to market in a year or so. CCAM has built a microfluidic device ourselves. We have done that and has been licensed to a company called Rapidex Technologies. Rapidex Technologies now has the ability to do the UTI antibiotic susceptibility test around in 6 to 8 hours. So you don't need to wait for 24 to 48 hours. Hopefully this will be validated on clinical samples soon and will be taken forward. But this is again very exciting, so that you can treat people with right prescription and right antibiotics rather than either waiting or giving them a broad spectrum heavy nail antibiotics which are not good for them. Of course, Bugworks has done fantastic work in the new efflux avoidance platform, which is a new way of treating gram-negative bacteria. And then there is another company called Gangajan, which is using phage, bacteriophage as a therapy, which is one of the most exciting approach right now in terms of minimizing the AMR issues worldwide. In summary, I would say that AMR presents one of the biggest healthcare challenges to the entire world, and particularly India. Importantly, as broad healthcare challenges, AMR is also very specific to India in many ways. And we will need to build our own solutions, our indigenous solutions to respond to that. And that will connect again back on the same thought that as we attempt to be Atmanirbhar or self-reliant, one of the most important things for us to build healthcare solutions, which are most important for us, so that in terms of challenges like pandemics like this, we are not as unequipped which we were 6 to 8 months back, and we will have to have our own innovation cycle which will do that. So AMR is, as one says, is one of the biggest challenge, slow growing tsunami. So it's better that we possibly be prepared for that and build our own innovations and be self-reliant Atmanirbhar for that. I thank everyone for their kind listening. Of course, our funders and happy to be contacted on our thing. But all in all, I think we are very excited to be a part of this event for IASF, and wishing the best event as we go forward, and looking to work together with many stakeholders to tackle AMR. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Saeed, for this wonderful talk. Please accept our sincere thanks and appreciation for sharing your views on AMR. As you informed us that India is very vulnerable, so I think institute like CSR Imtech and yours and Dr. Anuj Sharma's WHO, you should work hard and take care of this problem of AMR. So once again, I would like to thank you for this wonderful talk. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
So our next thing is that Dr. Anshu, in continuation to our fight against AMR, my colleague Dr. Anshu and his team and her team has developed this armor game against AMR for teaching young minds. So now I would request our director, Dr. Khosla, and Dr. Sharma and Dr. Saeed. So we will be releasing the teaser of this armor game. And Anshu, I would like to request you to.
Thanks a lot, Neeraj, and thank you, Dr. Saeed, Dr. Sharma, and Dr. Khosla for coming for the teaser launch. So I'm only technically launching the teaser from my end on behalf of all three of you. Thank you so much, and here we go. For all the audience out there, a small recommendation, view the teaser in full screen mode and a little bit high volume. It will sound better in that. And you can make it the volume full, even better. So, all right, here we go.
You need to share it.
Anshu?
Just a second. There is some issue in sharing, right? Just a sec. It is showing me some problems. Just one second. Just a second. I shared it. It went offline. Let's try one more time. Do you see a black screen now?
Yes.
All right. Hopefully it will run this time. All right. So I hope it went well.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Dr. Sharma and Dr. Syed and Dr. Khosla for launching the teaser. And just as a follow-up of that, I would like to share a little bit more on the game. As you know, we are calling it Armor, and it is supported by CSR India and CRI, along with INSERM, Université de Paris, and we have WHO and Jigyasa. So it actually is a very well supported game, and this is only the first version of the game. As rightly pointed out by both Dr. Sharma and Dr. Syed, that AMR is a much more complex problem, and overuse or underuse of antibiotic is just one issue in humans. We need to look at the One Health approach, where we collectively see how do we address this. So I think it's important that we sensitize our younger generation on what the problem is so that they can take it up and try and finding new solutions to address it. And that is the purpose of this game. To give the audience a little bit more on the features and learning strategy, for those of you are gamers who will understand what a tower defense genre game types are. Say, for example, a popular one is Plants vs. Zombies. So we actually have made a similar, or the base is coming from that, but then it is heavily customized to AMR. It has two worlds right now, the skin infections and the lung infections. The skin world has 6 levels, and each level has one learning message integrated into the game mechanics. We were not wanting to develop this game as an educational per se, but more of a awareness game. So it is based on very sound scientific principles, but not to bore the community or the students, but to make it more, with a high replay appeal. But the overall message with every level is do not underdose or overdose, because both will lead to drug-resistant bacteria, and even mild wounds that gets infected can prove fatal. So this is a message that the player will get, and the only way to win any level is to basically strategize it. No amount of hit and trial is going to get you out of the level. So if you have understood the message, you will win the level and go to the next level. This is how the levels look like. As you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are specifically on each level conveys the fundamentals of how antibiotics work, when bacteria divide, what you are supposed to do, how mild resistance starts to show up, and how then it goes to intermediate resistance, and then a bacteria which is completely resistant, and then you need a new antibiotic. So the game will tell you that if not used appropriately, the antibiotics go out of use. And the other ones are, as you, in a game mechanics, they become more and more expensive to buy, just to convey the message that it is extremely difficult to develop a new antibiotic. On winning 1 to 6 is when the lung level and the COVID level unlock. You cannot go to those 2 levels till the time you have, the players really have gone through all the 6 levels. And these are the URLs to access information on each level. What is the game mechanic, what is the learning, and what is the science behind it. The lung world is basically we are demonstrating combination of antibiotics, and there is no better example than tuberculosis. And if most of you have read this recent article in New York Times, which refers to tuberculosis as a bigger monster than the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. And I think both our esteemed speakers today highlighted the point of AMR being a bigger healthcare challenge that we are facing today. The COVID-19 level is something that we introduced in light of the ongoing pandemic, because we developed a COVID-19 level which conveys that antibiotics don't act on viruses and only bacteria can be killed by them. A healthy immune system is what keeps the virus in check. And it's critical because, as both our speakers pointed out, that there can be more deaths, unnecessary deaths in COVID-19 because of unnecessary antibiotic prescription. So I think a larger community and a wider community is to be made aware of this. And the best thing is to make them do something which they have to do over and over again so that, learning happens. So this is a call for the beta testers. Our game is ready for launch. For some of you who don't know what beta testers are real users. And in this particular case, everyone, especially the school-going kids. And as, again, both our speakers very clearly said that why do we need to target the younger community is because they are the drivers of change. They can change and influence decisions within the family, within the community. And we would like them to test the game, share their feedback, identify bugs and issues, and make recommendations like as simple as, I enjoyed playing the game, or I learned something. You need not be very technical when you are providing your feedback. But to be a good beta tester, you need to be very responsive. So when we ask you to test the game, we expect that you come back with the response. The more responsive you are, the better collectively we can better make the game. And this is the registration link for beta testing. If you have any difficulty finding the registration link, you can always contact us. And I'll be sharing this link again at the end of the presentation. And just to conclude, Armor is designed with the objective to trigger scientific curiosity and awareness, particularly among the citizens of tomorrow. And that is why we have based each level, despite simplifying it, on very solid scientific principles. You won't see those principles when you play the game, but every mathematical calculation that has gone behind, showing you that game level is based on sound scientific evidence. So that is Armor. What is Armor about? And we are in line with the Scientist Student Connect program that our Honorable Prime Minister launched in 2016, which we all know as Jigyasa. So as CSIR scientific social responsibility is that we should train our younger community and interface with the society at large to tell them what we are doing so that we can work with them in doing much better. And more recently, our Honorable Prime Minister this year basically stressed on the importance of developing virtual labs so that we can incentivize the younger students and the younger community on, attract young students to science and strengthen the scientific acumen. With that very brief introduction to Armor, again, let's join hands to address the scourge of antimicrobial resistance. And this is the link for the beta testing. And I would really like to convey my thanks to Dr. Sharma and Dr. Syed and Dr. Khosla for the teaser launch. We thought it's nice to bring some glamour to science. Why only movies should have teasers? When we do something as scientific as this, it should go a similar glamorous quotient. And it's important because we are targeting the audience who don't like anything less but the best. So we are trying to communicate in the medium with the younger guys who really like to work on things which are more tech savvy. So we hope that you like the game and we look forward to your feedback before we go live and launch it to the wider community. With those brief words, I would like to thank and hand it over back to Dr. Neeraj.
Anshu, we are proud of you. So now I would request Dr. Khosla for his concluding remarks.
First of all, thanks to Anshu for showcasing something that would actually be very useful in connecting with our youngsters, because I think so it's important that we take our science to those who actually will develop it further in the years to come. So I think so it's very timely event that we are planning. Thanks Dr. Sharma and Taslim for bringing us the facts about AMR. Nobody better than you both to have actually brought out the reasons why we should be looking at AMR much more seriously than we are. So thanks for all the information, and thanks for accepting our invitation to be here for this teaser on India International Science Festival, because we believe that contributions from people like you would be very, very important in actually taking the science to the general masses. So thank you once again. And with that, I will hand it back to Neeraj for his remarks. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. So last, I will propose official vote of thanks. So on this occasion, it is indeed a pleasure for me to propose a vote of thanks on behalf of CSIR IMTech First, I would like to thank Dr. Khosla for giving his initiatives, guidance for organizing such type of activities. My thanks to our speakers who very kindly agreed to be our speakers for this event at very short notice. So I'm thankful to Anshu who helped me in connecting with you. So I'm thankful to Shekhar, Dr. Sachin, Bhupender, who all have helped in us in arranging these activities. And lastly, I would thank the participants, and I think people must have enjoyed your talks, and during this period of COVID, we could organize this online activity, and in future we hope to have you live in our institute. So thanks again. Thank you very much. And lastly, I would request participants also to register for this science festival also, because registrations are now open, and wish you all the best. Thank you very much. Namaskar.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you.